All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're literally stepping into the shoes of a doomed traveler, walking step by step right into a nightmare that, honestly, there's no waking up from. We aren't just looking at a spooky story here, we're dissecting the exact anatomy of a terrible, terrible mistake. As we go through this, we're going to see exactly what happens when all logic goes out the window and the chilling silence of the damned totally takes over.
You know how it is, right? You're watching a horror movie and you're screaming at the screen, asking why on earth people walk toward the dark. Well, as you stare at these chilling warnings, like turn back now and leave before dark, it kind of hits you. Human psychology and morbid curiosity relentlessly push us forward. It's this fascinating paradox. These explicit warnings are designed to keep us out, yet they act like a massive psychological magnet, pulling us right over the threshold of safety just to see what secrets they're hiding.
So, here's where the journey actually begins. Crimson letters are literally screaming at you from this weathered, blood-stained signpost right at the edge of this place, ominously dubbed Scary Town. I mean, you have a car right there. The brake lights are glowing in the rain-slicked street. It's a perfectly good escape route. Plus, a looming clock tower is right there reminding you that time is seriously running out. Yet despite the rust, the decay, and, oh man, that terrifying motionless figure in the white dress waiting in the distance, your feet just keep carrying you past the warning.
Okay, so let's break down this fatal mistake. It basically unfolds in 3 distinct steps. First, morbid curiosity, that overwhelming itch to see what's out there. Second, arrogant hubris. You know, that quiet whisper in your head saying, hey, everyone else failed, but I'm going to be fine. And finally, the point of no return, where you physically cross the threshold into the dark, completely cutting off your ties to the safe world. Boom! You cross that point of no return, and suddenly you find yourself totally alone on the slick, rain-soaked asphalt of the deep woods, lit by just one solitary pale street lamp. Off to the left, a final rusted sign begs you to turn back one last time. But look straight ahead. The menacing silhouette of that exact same woman in white is standing dead center in your path. She's not charging at you or anything. She is just waiting. And honestly, it's that absolute stillness that anchors you to your doomed path and completely paralyzes your common sense.
Right, so as you push past her and break through the tree line, the whole vibe immediately shifts. You're instantly hit by the imagined smell of damp, rotting leaves and the sight of wet cobblestones reflecting the eerie, yellow glow of these antique gas lamps. Look at the crooked, jagged architecture of the houses lining the street. They almost look like teeth just waiting to snap shut. The moon is barely struggling to pierce the oppressive, stormy clouds, casting these long, twisted shadows that make the entire village feel alive and entirely hostile. But the quaint horror of that Gothic village? Yeah, that doesn't last. It suddenly gives way to the massive, suffocating skyline of a ruined, apocalyptic city. The scale of the terror expands exponentially here, as those jagged, lifeless towers blot out the moonlight, creating this giant canyon of decay. As you wander through these abandoned, flooded streets, walking right past the rusted husks of long-dead vehicles, the sheer isolation becomes completely deafening. You aren't just in a spooky town anymore, folks. You are trapped in a sprawling metropolis of the damned.
So desperate and seeking some kind of shelter from those exposed city streets, you head down into a subterranean transit tunnel. But, spoiler alert, any hope of safety instantly evaporates. You can practically taste the metallic tang of blood hitting your lungs down here. If you look closely at the concrete walls under those harsh, failing overhead lights, the words "run, run, run" are frantically smeared across the side. It's a final warning left by whoever came before you. And standing right in the middle of the train tracks, completely blocking your only way forward, is that same spectral figure. It's at this exact moment you realize with absolute certainty you are now the prey.
Frantically escaping the suffocating narrow darkness of that tunnel, you end up barricading yourself inside the first massive structure you can find, which just so happens to be an abandoned hospital. But as you'd guess, safety is a total illusion here. The oppressive silence of these peeling, decaying hallways is honestly far worse than the noise of the chase itself. And then, the silence is shattered, not by a sound, but by a sight. Down the long, grimy corridor, surrounded by pitch-black doorways leading to who knows what, you see her again, standing motionless in the dark, always waiting, always watching. In an absolute panic, you back your way into a rusted hospital ward. This wave of sheer, inescapable dread washes over you as pale moonlight filters through the heavy, grated window at the back, just lighting up these empty, blood-stained beds. I mean, it's the classic horror movie setup. You really think you've finally found a room to catch your breath, only, as your eyes adjust to the gloom, you realize the figure hasn't just followed you inside, she is standing right by the window. You are completely, 100% boxed in.
It's in this trapped, breathless moment that a creeping, paralyzing panic fully washes over you. The true, inescapable nature of this nightmare finally, terrifyingly clicks into place. This wasn't a random series of encounters. This wasn't just a streak of bad luck. No, it was a hunt. And you were marked from the very second you crossed into town.
And here is where the terrifying climax finally hits. You strike a match, and the flickering light reveals the true horror of your so-called sanctuary. A rusted, blood-soaked bed sits in the corner, and a horrifying message is thickly smeared right across the grimy wall. I saw you. And just over to the left, a ghastly, screaming face is etched in blood, staring directly at you. This isn't just a threat, it's a taunt. She was watching you from the very first signpost. Every single step you took wasn't an escape, it was her, leading you precisely to this room.
In your final, terrifying moments in that hospital room, the physical world begins to fade away. It dissolves into the static crackle of a vintage microphone. Notice the hooded, skeletal broadcaster lurking in the shadows there. Clutched in his sharp claws, that mic is literally broadcasting your doom. With a wooden Scary Town plaque resting on his desk, this grim figure sits eagerly in the shadows, just recording your demise. Your terror isn't just a personal tragedy anymore. It's entertainment. It's being broadcast out into the ether for all the damned.
As this explainer comes to an end, it leaves you with a deeply unsettling realization about curiosity and its consequences. We've walked through the morbid curiosity, the arrogant hubris, and that terrifying point of no return. We saw the ruined city, the tunnel, and that haunted hospital room where fate was ultimately sealed. So the next time you find yourself out in the world, and you feel that familiar urge to wander just a little too far past a warning sign in the dark, you really have to ask yourself, when you ignore the signs, who will be listening to your final screams?